take our next presentation right now, and this will focus on the 3 C's in payment. Now you may ask, what are the 3 C's? The 3 C's are cashless, contactless, and cardless payment, the trends and the opportunities that lie therein. Our presentation will be delivered by a distinguished gentleman who oversees Visa's operations across 5 Anglophone countries and is responsible for spearheading portfolio management within the region, whilst also cultivating relationships with Visa's clients. Prior to his present role, he spent over 8 years at Visa, holding several positions, and mostly recently led the company's operations in Nigeria as the country manager. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please join me as I now make welcome the Vice President and Head of West Africa at Visa, Andrew Uaboi, for the next presentation that will focus on, just like I mentioned earlier, the 3 C's in payment: cashless, contactless, and cardless, the trends and opportunities that lie therein. I'll be handing over to our presenter now, who will come up stage to take the conversation from here. And we're still looking forward to the highlight of the day, which is the Zekathon. Please come up, sir. Over to you. Thank you very much. Round of applause for him.
Good morning, everyone. I have to warn you that I'm talking about something that I'm very excited about, so I could get carried away. So please prompt me when and if I'm going beyond the time.
You have 15 minutes. Your time starts now.
Noted. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Zenith Bank, for having me here. I'm really excited. As you can see, this is an opportunity for us to learn about what's emerging in both the consumer space and as well as the financial space. I'm happy to be here because this is the second time as Visa that we are participating in this auspicious event. And I'm hoping that by the time we finish the session that I'll be speaking about, you'll be as excited about what is going to be coming in the payment space, for which Zenith Bank is already driving some of the initiatives. So while I wait for the clicker to respond, I'll be talking about the cashless, the 3 C's: cashless, contactless, as well as cardless payment. So the slide I'm going to be walking you through, I'll talk about the trends in consumer payments. I'll talk about as well the information that we need to be mindful of as we drive into the cashless and contactless payments, as well as the role that Visa plays in the ecosystem. So what are the trends in the consumer behaviors that we are seeing? We see that since COVID, there has been a great shift in contactless payment. In fact, up to 65% of businesses across sub-Saharan Africa said they would rather prefer to accept contactless payments than collect cash. We've also seen and heard feedback from consumers that said that they would rather do, 75% of them have said that once a merchant carries out a contactless transaction for the first time, they are more likely to collect it than take cash. Then we've also seen people that said that 16% believe that once you take the first contactless transactions, you are less likely to move to cash transactions. What does all of this mean for us as a business, as an economy, and as a consumers? What it means is that it's helping both the consumer that is transacting to have more access to digital forms of payment, to the bank that is providing the services is helping them to be able to gain insight into how their consumers or their customers are behaving, and you can design products and solutions that follows them on their day and their path that they go through. Next slide, please. So speaking more directly to SMEs, how does contactless affect SMEs, or what have we seen in terms of what contactless is doing in the SME space? So we've noticed that across sub-Saharan Africa that 82% of SMEs change the way that they operate once they start accepting, after that, change the way that they have been paying over the last 2 years, driving more into contactless kind of transactions. So you would also see that from COVID period, more and more organizations are accepting cash transfers, they're accepting card payments, they're accepting other means of payment. Selling products have gone online. You see beyond just e-commerce that you see every day, Konga and the rest of them that you see for e-commerce, you're also seeing small merchants uploading their services. You want to buy shoes, if you go to Instagram, you see people displaying shoes, displaying wristwatches, and all sorts of things online. So more and more products and sellers are going onto the digital platforms. And many of those transactions are completed digitally. So you don't even need to know who is selling, right? Just going on Instagram or going on Facebook or going on X, as it is called today, you can consummate a transaction. Contactless acceptance is growing across sub-Saharan Africa, and it will continue to grow. 38% of advertising is now targeted. So, for example, you've bought a wristwatch or you've bought a phone. What you then start to see is that more and more targeted advertising is coming to you, because they'll say you probably need a pouch or you probably need a screen guard. These are all of the things that SMEs are seeing and that is helping drive the wave of contactless transactions and payments in the ecosystem. Many of us will remember, at least for those of us that have been working for some time, 10, 20 years now, you remember there was a buzzword, Gen Zs, Gen Zs, Gen Zs. The Gen Zs were at that time seen to be people in the university, people that were still coming out. Many of the Gen Zs now are working, and they have a different approach to things that you and I that are at a certain age do. And the slide in front of us actually tells how different they are. So 63% of Gen Zs would go for mobile first, right? Rather than the rest of us that would probably want to go less mobile. 60% of Gen Zs are looking for fun experience in payments and anything that has to do with digital. It has to be fun for them. So that's where gamification comes into play. So we need to look, as we create experiences for this set of people that are increasingly leaving school and coming into the workplace, we need to make sure that we are creating the kind of experience that will drive the future of commerce for them and for us. Their patience level is very low. So what you and I would probably be go to a bank and wait an hour or 30 minutes. A Gen Z millennial, they don't have that kind of patience. And that we are seeing that across the different platforms where they operate. So speed, fun, and trust needs to be taken into consideration as we begin to build solutions for this growing segment of our population, because they are the future of banking, future of payments, future of everything that we do as a society. So now we're going to dive quickly into the 3 C's. And what are the 3 C's? The contactless, cardless, and cashless. And I'll take a bit of time to speak on each of them very quickly, bearing in mind the time. So what's contactless? Contactless basically is an ability to make a payment frictionlessly without necessarily touching or tapping on the solution that you're paying with. From what we've seen, people that have done at least one contactless payment, 46% of them have said that contactless then became their default means of payment. So imagine you will travel, or you had your experience of making one payment with a contactless card or a contactless device. By default, when you are shopping, when you are paying, top of mind for you is that I would rather use this card or this device that has made it seamless. You imagine you go into a big supermarket and there's a fast track for people that can make contactless payments rather than people that are either paying cash or dipping. Because not all cards are contactless payments, contactless enabled. So you necessarily see that people that pay with contactless will move faster. It enhances commerce because whoever is selling can sell more because people are moving through the queue very, very quickly. So contactless, like I said, is going beyond just plastics. It's going into many digital form factors, right? Smartphones are becoming contactless due to the NFC technology enabled within them. And doing the mobile, so the contactless is very secure in the sense that I'm sure you've probably seen a number of videos where, and I'll play a video at the end of this that gives that sense of security that contactless is a very secure form of payment. So it has the chip. So if you take out your card, you'll see that it has a chip. There's a technology behind it that secures the payment of transactions. Contactless transactions also have that kind of encryption that governs the type of payment that happens. So contactless transactions essentially are safe for use. Now, contactless, like I mentioned, is going through different stages. Initially, we started with contactless cards. Now we're moving into contactless virtual cards or digital cards on mobile phones. So if you go to a store and you don't have your card, you can tap your phone if the device or the POS is contactless enabled. And increasingly you see smart devices. I can bet that half of the people here are either wearing a smartwatch right now or have a smartwatch at home or know people that have smartwatch. So we are getting to a stage whereby, imagine going for jogging in the morning, and obviously because you're wearing tights, you want to be free, you're not carrying your phones, you only have your smartwatch. And maybe you've taken a run for like 30, 45 minutes, and you stop by a store and you want to pay. Meanwhile, you don't have a card, you don't have a phone. We're getting to the stage, and it's already live in many markets, where you just tap your phone, your wristwatch, you make payments, and you move on. So that's where we are going, and we've already started our journey with a bank like Zenith Bank, and we will continue to drive those kind of initiatives within the market. So contactless, beyond just creating convenience, it creates a lot of benefits for everybody within the ecosystem. It helps us compete cash. It helps provide a viable alternatives for merchants. So merchants, you can either collect cash, you can collect a card, or you can collect your payment through a contactless form of payment. It improves consumers' everyday experience. Looking at the example I gave earlier, where you go into a store, and there's a long queue of people dipping their card, entering their PIN, waiting for confirmation. But you go to another teller, you just tap your card, and you move. And many of us have seen it happen, and it's something that we can bring into our space and that is relevant for this market. It creates value for providers, and also paves the way for Internet of Things. Our first speaker talked about Internet of Things. Our previous speaker also talked about Internet of Things. So that's how commerce begins to come into play. Just last week, I was working from home, and the next night I got a notification on my phone, and I looked at it, and it told me, your printer ink is getting low. You need to change it. And that's where the future is getting to. And upon giving me that prompt, it asked me, would you like to order for a new printing ink? And all I needed to do was say yes. And it would debit my card and credit the merchant. And so that's where we are getting to. And that's how contactless payment can help drive commerce and also drive business. Now, we are moving beyond just the consumer using contactless payments. We are looking at how contactless payments can speak to the last mile or the last small micro merchants on the road. I'll skip this slide and go to, this is where we want to get to. We're already here in many markets across the world where someone selling pepper, selling fish, right, that cannot afford a POS device that costs $100 or $200 or $300, can use their smartphone to either receive payment through someone that has a card or someone that has a smart-enabled phone. So it's the future of payments, and we all need to embrace it because that's where the world is heading to. So it empowers banks to bring in more micro merchants into the space. And imagine bringing more and more. There are billions of merchants across the world. In Nigeria, I think it's estimated that we have over 40 million. But not how many of them have access to devices to be able to accept payments. So this is an opportunity which we are working with partners to drive within the eco system. Again, I'll talk about fraud and contactless payment because it's something that we hear quite regularly. How do you guard against fraud? How do you prevent fraud on contactless? And I can assure you that contactless has globally, and you could, and I have some stats to back that up, and you could also do your own research, has some of the lowest fraud cases across the world. So if you check it out, you'll see that contactless payments is one of the safest forms of payments that you would find anywhere in the world. So how is Visa enabling this? I've talked about how some of the ways that we are doing this. We are doing it through enabling frictionless payments, through what we call tokenization, tap to phone, which we are doing with many of our partners. We are also doing it through seamless experience. I talked about the customer journey, whereby you open a mobile app. It could be a Zenith Bank mobile app. The virtual card that you have in there is already digitized. So even if you do not have a physical card, that digital card can be used as a tap-to-pay device or an opportunity. It can also increasingly help the bank and the providers of those capabilities to understand the customer life journey. You know where he's paying. You know he has paid for his lag bus. he has paid for his black bus, he has come down, he has stopped at a fast food joint, he has started to pay. So you can follow the drive of an individual and know what products, what communications, what campaigns and marketing things you can drive to them. It helps you with insight, like I said, and also is a new source of revenue. Imagine during COVID, right? A lot of banks could not issue cards because there was restriction of movement, people's cards were expiring where they were at home. Imagine you were able to automatically provision a card on your mobile app and enable that card for contactless payments. What that does for you automatically as a bank or as issuer of card is that cost associated with that plastic is significantly reduced. I will not go into all the details here, but just to summarize that as Visa, we are doing a lot and will continue to do a lot with the ecosystem to ensure that contactless form of payment takes roots in the market and also drives the payment landscape that we want to see in Nigeria. Thank you very much.